against the two teams that are top of the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I mean, look at a team like Carolina, and they just come at you in waves. Yeah. And, they get that goal, and it's kind of an innocuous play where Trocheck's out high and sees all that traffic and goes, all right, let's get the puck to the net here and let's see what happens. Good things can happen here. It's a low-scoring game. There's not a lot being given up, and, you get a good tip by Martinook, and it's able to elude Martin Jones, who I thought played really well in the game for the Flyers.
Yeah, and we were talking about it in the pregame and thinking that, you put Martin Jones out there, who is, in terms of the pecking order, the Flyers quote-unquote back goaltender. If you put him out there and he gets a solid, performance in what might be a 2-1 loss, that would not be the worst thing ever for the Flyers, because they're putting him out there to kind of show the rest of the league what he can do as the trade deadline approaches, and that's essentially exactly what they got. The two Carolina goals before the empty netter were good plays on the part of the Hurricanes, and the by and large the performance from Martin Jones today was very solid. So that's good for him. That's good for the Flyers. They don't get the win, but again, this is going to be a long-term thing for this team at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it pregame as well, and Pat mentioned it, who's producing the show, that, hey, maybe they're showcasing Martin Jones. And I go, is this a team you want to showcase him against? This is a tough opponent. You could be showcasing the wrong thing if things go sideways. They didn't, though.
Yeah. No, they didn't go sideways. He had a couple of spots there where he got some help from the defense, obviously. Kept goals out, but he played. I think he's played well enough over the course of the season to show that he is still capable of being a dependable goaltender in whatever situation you need. Can he play 65 games a year anymore? Probably not, but he can definitely be an upgrade for a team out there that's trying to get through the rest of this regular season into playoff position, and has goaltending injuries, goaltending questions, goaltending depth, maybe even just somebody to bring in and have there for those times in the playoffs, like what happened to the Flyers about 10 years ago, where the goaltending goes awry.
Yeah, I think he's played about 60 playoff games in his career, including a run to the finals with San Jose.
He's been, coming into the season, he was the most used NHL goaltender of any team over the last 6 years in the regular season, and just with how far San Jose has gone in the playoffs prior to the past two seasons, that right there was that's a good look for him overall. That he's had all that experience. He's got you're right, 62 playoff games, 60 starts, 32 and 27 in the playoffs with a 2.37 and a 9.17. So those are very, very respectable numbers, going all the way up to San Jose's last run deep into the playoffs in 2019.
Yeah, I guess he got a couple games with LA in that 2014 run to the Cup, if I recall.
Yeah, it looks like he played.
Back up the quick.
Looks like he played a total of 56 minutes over 2 games. So that was probably, he only faced 7 shots in those 56 minutes. So that probably wouldn't have been some kind of, goalie change point in that run. But, he started all 24 games that he played for San Jose in 2016, started 20 games for them in 2019. So he has definitely been there. Was part of those teams that just couldn't get over the hump before the window kind of closed on the Sharks.
How the heck did he play 56 minutes and only see 7 shots? That's amazing.
Really have to go back and look at the game by games.
That
particular season. It was again, Los Angeles being what it was back then. Probably. I just pulled them up. There's one game that would have been in the first round. It was he played basically a period, looks like, saw 4 shots, and then another game on the second round against Anaheim, played 2 periods and saw 3 shots. So
wow,
well, those games were already completely out of hand by the time he got in there. I don't know. It would take a little bit further look here, but
efficient.
Efficient, and he's got he's got the experience there, and he does not have to be your number one goalie going to the playoffs. He can be your backup, or he can be the guy that's there in case your number one goes down, which again we've seen here in Philadelphia in the past decade or so, going to the playoffs, and you can never have enough defense, you never have enough goalies.
Man, there's a couple teams that are looking. Edmonton's still looking for some goaltending help. Maybe Toronto as well. What's going on there? So there'll be a market for him, and he did his value some good today, albeit in a loss. Let's get to the BetRivers.com highlight reel of this game. It's the Canes who opened the scoring, not in the first period, it's in the second period at 8:34. Steven Lorentz gets the opening goal, his 7th of the season.
Chatfield couldn't get it in deep. Lawrence does, and they play it out left point. Chatfield skipped one wide of the net to Karam up the wall. Get it back into the far corner, and they score. At a flat angle with Martin Jones on the other side of the net. Steven Lawrence, I believe, was the one that put it home. And Carolina has the first goal of the game and a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, Lawrence just sitting there on the side of the net. And, boy, what a great play there by Stepan to reverse it as Martin Jones is reading it coming to the post on his glove hand side. And there's no way he's going to get back at that point. It's just a well-executed play. And Lawrence is able to pop that one into the empty net, and that puts the Canes up 1-0. Flyers did have a goal disallowed about the 13:50 mark of the second period, but at 16:50, they get the game tied when Derek Brassard picks up his 6th goal of the season.
Loose puck, Flyers jump on that, and they get it to center. Atkinson at the red line will skip one in on net. A save, the rebound, the Flyers score! Derek Brassard jumped on the loose puck and puts it in. Atkinson threw it on goal, and after Frederick Anderson made the save, Brassard pounced on it for a 1-1 tie.
I love everything about this goal because I love it because it's a set play. It's a beautiful goal.
It's perfectly executed too, because from Cam Atkinson's perspective, it's think of it as an onside kick. You're trying to put the puck in the right spot where it's going to be difficult for the goaltender to handle, and that's exactly what happens here. It takes one hop, it hits Anderson, and then he waves at it. He tries to knock it to the corner, but he misses. And once that happens, he's got to get reset. And Brassard, you got to give him some credit here, because as he's coming in on this puck, it is kind of rolling on edge. It's not laying flat on the ice, and he does have a defenseman kind of trying to handcuff him here a little bit, but he's still able to get his stick to the puck and basically still lift it up where it needs to go over Anderson's shoulder. It's flipping end over end by the time it gets there, but it's definitely a pretty good bit of skill there from Brassard.
And Brassard picks up his 6th, ties the game. Ristolainen and Cam Atkinson pick up the assist. So we head to the third in a tie game. Flyers have actually been decent in this situation. Tie game going into the third, 8-4 on the season, but it's 16-10 in the waning moments of the third period. It's the Canes who grab the lead. Jordan Martinook deflects a Vincent Trocheck shot that puts the Canes up 2-1.
Chatfield rifles it in behind the goal. Provorov lifts it over to the near boards. Atkinson unable to get to it, and it bounces free. And Trocheck took the shot from high in the slot, and it flutters over the glove of Martin Jones. Vincent Trocheck will give the Canes the 2-1 lead with 3:50 to play.
Yeah, good tip, good high tip. There's a couple of opportunities. There's another play down closer to the net, another player for Carolina that's also trying to put another tip on that. Doesn't happen, but that is a distraction to the goaltender. Good high tip from Martinook, and it gives the Canes the lead. They eventually get the empty net goal, and that's our final score, 3-1. Carolina, Aho picked up the empty netter, his 26th of the season. And Flyers only able to muster one goal on Freddie Anderson. Bit of a bizarre goal, too, with the bouncing puck coming in and then the fluttering shot. But they did get 29 shots on Freddie Anderson in the game, 28 saves for him, 36 shots for Carolina, I guess. So that's 33 saves for Martin Jones, because the empty net one doesn't count as a shot against net. So 33 save effort.
I'm looking at this Jones goal. I'm almost thinking that they're going to review this and give it to the second guy. I'm sorry.
You think he gets a piece of it too?
Yeah, because I'm I was going to ask you from a goaltending perspective. It really looks like this handcuffs him, and off the stick initially from Trocheck, this thing is headed blocker side. There's a and then there's a definite tip by Martinook. It looks like it's sending it glove side, but the second guy waves at it, and it ends up over Jones's shoulder, over his blocker side shoulder, when he's got his glove hand up. So the first he picks up the first deflection off of Martinook's stick, which is sending it to his glove side.
Yeah.
But then there's the second
reaction on the blocker side.
I have to go in and look at another angle to see who this is. But he's standing, he's kind of screened by Justin Braun, and Jones can't really pick him up. And I feel like the second direction change shifts this from going glove side to almost right at his head, and then it goes right by his right ear. And that's what I was trying to figure out. What I was trying to figure out is, the first shot was going blocker, and then the deflection put it glove. And if you watch the replay, his last reaction is to lift the blocker, and I couldn't figure out why. And looking at it again, I think it might be Aho, 41. Is that who Aho? He gets that. I think he gets that second little tick on it. And they have I'm sorry, that's the empty netter that he got. It's neither here and there. We'll see if they change it, just kind of for my own own interest in it. It's either Niederreiter or Fast. I'll go in there and take a look at it. But it's a very, very tough situation for Martin Jones to deal with there.
Yeah, because you can see him. He lunges initially with the glove hand. He's tracking it to his left side of his body, and then the final reaction is to try and get the blocker up, but it goes right by the ear hole, and that's a hard spot to make a save because you can't get your hands up by your ears.
You know what? They do have it correct, and it was a double deflection because Martinook is the second guy to tip it. He's the one that was kind of behind Braun. What they have not done is they haven't credited. I don't think the first deflection. I don't think they've credited the first assist to the first deflection.
Yeah.
They still haven't
Trocheck the primary.
So. Yeah, there's absolutely no question that it was tipped once before Martinook got to it.
Yeah.
So that was a double deflection.
I'm not sure if the high guy did get a piece of it. I think the initial shot is what he tracks to his glove hand, and then he gets it's a weird deflection too, like the open blade, and he's facing the blue line, Martinook, and it just cuts it back the other way and goes right by the ear hole.
Yeah, it's Svechnikov is the other guy involved in this, and there's that one angle, if you can find it, that's from the robo that's behind the net.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
Svechnikov got the first deflection.
Yeah,
you might be right. It might have just bypassed him, and it's the second deflection, the Martinook, who gets credit for it, that sends it back toward the blocker side.
Yeah. All in all, it's the game winner for the Kings. They take the 3-1 win. Let's take a timeout. We'll be back after this. Flyers post-game show. Brian Smith, Jason Martinez on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network.
You're listening to the Flyers post-game show.
in defeat against the Carolina Hurricanes, 3-1, the final. Quick turnaround here, Brian. Going to get right back on it. Fly back here to Philadelphia, lose the hour tonight. Have a game tomorrow against the Montreal Canadiens, who are playing tonight in Montreal against Seattle. They're going to have to get done that game around 10:30 tonight, get out of the building, clear customs, get here, and play a game again tomorrow. So even footing, Flyers with a slight advantage, a little bit more time in between and coming home. So got to get back on it tomorrow. Carter Hart will likely get the start tomorrow for the Flyers.
Yeah, it's again with this time change, it's a weird day. Out of the three teams we're discussing, the Flyers definitely have the best situation because Carolina now goes to Pittsburgh. They won't get there too late, but they lose the hour and they got to play at 1:00 tomorrow. Montreal will, like you said, get out of there kind of late. They got to go through customs, and then, who knows what they're going to deal with here as far as weather. If shouldn't be anything delaying them by then, I don't know, but it's potential for a late night for them. So hopefully the Flyers can bounce back tomorrow. They get a solid night of sleep in their own beds. They'll be back here by 9, I would imagine, at least. So they'll be they won't be home too terribly early, but they'll be back here and hopefully a little bit more rested up headed into that game tomorrow night.
And all of a sudden, the Montreal Canadiens playing a much better brand of hockey. 7-3 in their last 10. They actually won 5 straight when they hired. They hired Marty St. Louis, who had no coaching experience at the professional level, and he comes in and really kind of takes the handcuffs off the team in a lot of ways, lets them play a lot more free. Look, they're playing with no pressure too. That's part of it, I believe. But they've gone out. They beat some good teams too. They beat St. Louis. They beat the Islanders. They beat Toronto. They beat Buffalo. They beat Ottawa. They're not good teams, but then they lose to Winnipeg 8-4. And then they come back and they beat Calgary, a really good team, on the road. They beat Edmonton on the road. And their last game they lost against Vancouver 5-3. And they got Seattle tonight at home, and then right here to Philadelphia. So they're a team playing a little bit better with the new bench boss and Marty St. Louis. It's
rare that you're a Montreal team that can play with no pressure, right? Because there's always pressure in Montreal. It has been a rather quick and I feel like a rather unexpected fall from grace for this team that was able to make some stuff happen in the playoffs in the bubble. They were able to give the Flyers fits through that first round, and then of course last year with their run, and now this. It just really kind of pulled the bottom out from under them, and they had management change in the off season.
It was in season.
They're in season rather.
Yeah, Bergevin.
Season, but that management change, that's what led to Marty St. Louis coming in. Was the familiarity there. That whole thing, the management change. The part of it I was thinking of in the off season was when Jeff Gorton got run out of New York.
Yeah,
that was the predecessor to him coming into Montreal, and it's another shift in the NHL going from a general manager who's in charge of everything, which is the way the Flyers are still structured, and several other teams are still structured, to basically having a two-headed monster in terms of a president of hockey operations and a general manager. So now it's where Jeff Gorton was running the show in New York, now he comes to Montreal, he's running the show, but he has a general manager under him.
Ken Hughes.
And it's those relationships between Hughes and St. Louis and Gorton that brought him in to be a coach. Again, they go off the board with that pick. But one of the weird requirements of a head coach in Montreal, it still seems, is being able to speak French. So you can't just, pluck anybody. Marty St. Louis obviously has that ability, and it's working so far. They like you said, they didn't have anything to lose, so they've been able to turn things around there a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know who said the quote, but in Montreal they said it's interesting because they tell you suck in 2 languages.
Yeah,
it's obviously a tough market to play in.
And again, you don't have to even do anything as a coach. Like we've seen it before. they hire a coach that is not fluent in French, and their media goes nuts.
Yeah. Who's the last successful one that was that? Was that Pat Burns?
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. You're probably right on that.
Get the Rosetta Stone.
So yeah, it's really kind of a weird situation up there. But Montreal has, again, been in a weird situation this year that I don't think they expected to be in, and they're trying to kind of do the same thing the Flyers are and get themselves positioned for a quick turnaround for next year.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of started in the offseason with Kotkaniemi and the offer sheet, and then you get rid of Bergevin, you bring in Gorton, and it's kind of the understudy. And Ken Hughes was an NHL agent, and you have a lot of the teams doing that kind of thing. I mean, even in Pittsburgh, where Ron Hextall is the GM, Brian Burke is there as the president to kind of be the liaison to ownership, if you will. But the GM in that situation has got full autonomy to make the moves he would like to make. And you see that kind of all over the league right now. Some teams going with that model. Same thing in Vancouver with Jim Rutherford there as well. So it'll be interesting. Montreal, you take away Shea Weber, you take away Carey Price playing into peak, and look what happens. The wheels fall off.
You mentioned there they're playing much better. You think things went bad for the Flyers this year. In the 2-month period from November 13th to February 13th, which is actually a 3-month period. The Montreal Canadiens won 4 games.
Yeah.
I can't count up really quickly in front of me how many games it is, but it looks like it's about 32, something like that. Won 4 of them. They had 8 wins on the season as of Valentine's Day before they started this little tear that they're on right now.
They were 8-25 and or 7-25 and 5. Wow.
That's
even later than that. Yeah, you're right. 8-33 and 7. Yeah.
7 when this started. Yeah. Again, with as bad as things have been going in Philadelphia, it's been even worse in Montreal. And the interesting thing about this, if you're really into the Flyers overall drafting and development and all that, is this will be the first time Cole Caulfield plays in Philadelphia. There was a very, very I don't know how you call it, polarizing pick of Cam York instead of Cole Caulfield.
Yeah, I was one of them
years ago. Pat Egan was one of them, and
they passed on him not once but twice.
Yeah, and that whole thing was predicated
they moved down
on Bobby Brink being their answer to it. So
in the second round, yeah.
So you're right. They didn't pick 2 people, but they traded down. They had the opportunity to get them. They traded down, still had the opportunity to get them, and went with Cam York instead. So
see, Pat was challenging me in my ear.
Yeah, so he went nuts in that playoff run last year. This year he only has 8 goals in 42 games, but it'll be for those folks their first chance to see him in person, and quite possibly the first game that both of those 2 players are involved in. I don't know if it was the case earlier this season that either of them were in the game or not, but I think it's going to be the first time they play each other in the NHL. So, just a little bit of side fun for tomorrow to watch that.
And 2 players that played World Juniors and the National Team Development Program. And, Caulfield is definitely a pure scorer. And that's why Flyer fans wanted him.
Yeah.
They wanted a guy that, in the junior ranks and, throughout his, career in World Juniors would just score ad nauseum. It was incredible. I mean, he's got a great release, but does he have the size to be able to get to the right spots at the NHL levels?
And the guy that the Flyers basically took instead of him, Bobby Brink, is the leading scorer in the NCAA this year with the University of Denver. He's having a terrific season there, and we'll now wait and see, I guess, kind of what happens with him as the NCAA season comes to a close here. Will will he finish up there? He's got 1 year left of eligibility. I don't know.
I think he's turning pro.
I don't know that there's any particular reason at this point. So, we shall see. But, he's got 54 points in 35 games at the college level, which is really good. So we'll see what happens there. But it could be that we see this all coming to fruition, next season or the year after that. But it will be. It's always interesting with NHL drafts because you really don't know how they turn out for a good 3 years at least after they happen. This is one thing that a lot of folks will be watching.
Yeah, Cam York did not play in that game that the Flyers played against the Canadiens earlier this season. Caulfield did. He didn't have any points in the game. He was a -1, but he had 8 shots on goal in the game in 16 minutes and 13 seconds of ice time and 2:35 on the power play as well. Not afraid to shoot it.
I mean, he's the real deal, and he will be, he'll be successful in this league. There's no doubt about it. I don't think the Flyers didn't take him because they didn't think he'd be successful. I think they just kind of liked what they saw a little bit better in York as far as an overall package player, what he could bring to the team. And you're right. At the time, the Flyers desperately needed scoring, and they thought a lot of folks thought they'd have that in Cole Caulfield. But again, except for the rare guys that are picked in the top 5, usually, a lot of times you're drafting for a couple years down the road anyway. So, we'll see which one. We'll see how it pans out. But the bet at the time was that Cam York plus Bobby Brink is going to be greater than Cole Caulfield in the grand scheme of things.
And the interesting thing too, the last game they played, it was a 3-2 shootout win for Montreal. Only 1 goal was scored in the shootout. That was Jonathan Drouin on Carter Hart. Hart had 38 saves in the game. And the goaltender that night for Montreal, and we'll see if we see him tomorrow, Caden Primo.
Yeah, it's that's another kind of underlying story that not a lot of people notice, but he was chosen with a 7th round pick that the Flyers more or less gifted to Montreal. There was a run there for a little bit that the Flyers were basically trading their 7th round picks to Montreal for a 7th round pick the next year. I think they did it 3 years in a row. And finally, with one of those picks, they took Caden Primo. And I don't think that there was any question that Dad did not really want him playing in Philadelphia, just from the standpoint of didn't want him to be in his shadow. But that is a pick that regardless of what he does, I think over the course of his career, the fact that he's played in the NHL at all is a pretty good get for Montreal at this point.
Yeah, and he's not even with the club right now. It's Montembeault and the Hamburglar, Andrew Hammond.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
The Canadiens have not been here since January 16th of 2020, by the way. They were a pre-lockout, a pre-COVID shutdown opponent before that season ended, about 2 months before that season ended. So has been a while since we've seen the Canadiens in the Wells Fargo Center. So that'll be nice to get that uniform back in Philadelphia for a game.
Yeah, it's always a good-looking uniform to see live as well. And, the other thing about it is today's kind of a significant date because 2 years ago today, the Flyers were supposed to play a game. Yeah. And that's when the pause officially began in the National Hockey League on the 12th of March, 2020. We're here 2 years later. And it looks like, buildings are full across North America again, and that's a great thing.
It's crazy to look at it now, but I remember thinking, we were watching how everything developed that first week, and you're wondering, okay, is it going to be, are we going to start up here in April? What are we going to do? And the more it went on, it was like, wow, this might be 2 years. And here we are 2 years later. I think finally maybe getting back to some semblance of normal. We still have not had, that's what you're looking at. How long, in terms of what we do, how long the Flyers locker room has been closed to the media? 2 years now.
Yeah,
that still hasn't come back. The thought is that it will come back maybe next year. And it's going to be interesting to see what baseball does coming up here now that they're getting started, because they'll be the first team. They'll be the first league to kind of start a new season under the current conditions. So if they can get that back open, then we'll hopefully be back to normal here soon. But yeah, it is. There's been a lot of things that have happened behind the scenes for Flyers games the last couple of weeks that you and I do. That it's been strange to see certain people without masks that we've never seen without masks before.
Yeah.
They started after the pandemic, or places that we go during games that we haven't been able to go for 2 years. Now we can. So it's slowly getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. And tomorrow will be game number 999 of Claude Giroux's career. And then Thursday will be the big one, 1,000 NHL games. A couple of his former teammates, Jake Voracek and Wayne Simmons, have surpassed that already, and Claude's up next.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. I'm sure we're going to have that covered for you on the Flyers broadcast network. I'm sure the Flyers will have it covered as well on their social channels, but we don't know the exact timing of it yet, but you can expect it to be, I would imagine, significantly earlier than the published start time for the game.
Mm-hmm.
Communicate that as we get a little closer to Thursday and we know exactly what the timing is, but that we might you might want to if you're coming to the game, definitely might want to get there a little bit early, tuning in for it. Don't count on it being at 7:00. It's going to be a little bit before that, but it's going to be a big night.
Yeah, and we'll have full coverage on Flyers Daily this week as well. We're going to have a lot of interviews with guys that have played with Claude Giroux and teammates current as well. So we'll have full coverage there on Flyers Daily podcast as well. So get that on iTunes and wherever you get your podcast, and subscribe and leave a rating and review, a 5-star rating and review. All right, let's wrap it up. Actually, coming up next on the radio station is the one and only Pat Egan. Pat, I don't know what he's going to be talking about today, but I'm not sure that he knows.
Yeah, he's got a couple minutes yet. You can figure it out.
He's quick on his feet, this Pat Egan. So stay tuned. He's coming up next. And we got to thank a few people before we get out here. Let's start with our in-studio engineer and the next host. That would be Pat Egan. Pat, who was on highlights? Matt Manerick on highlights. For Tim Saunders, Steve Coates, Brian Smith, I'm Jason Martinez. You've been listening to Philadelphia Flyers Hockey, and we'll talk to you tomorrow as the Flyers take on the Canadiens on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network. Good night, everybody. Right. All right. See you, streamers. Talk to you all tomorrow.
You're listening to the Flyers postgame.